What it do, what it does, what it is, everybody. Thanks for tuning in, and in today's video we're going to talk about Destruction All-Stars. I'm just going to give you a couple of my thoughts about the game, what hits, what misses, and if it's worth a download in my opinion. Now the footage you're going to see is from its Mayhem mode, which is one of the 4 modes available in the game's multiplayer. Personally, it's my favorite one. But other than that, let me holler at you for a sec. Now, if you're wondering what the game is about, you play as one of 16 All-Stars. Each have their own unique character ability and a special vehicle that can be called after the related bar gets full. Before you get access to your special vehicle, however, there are 3 types of vehicles around the arena for players to try to drive: an offensive, a defensive, and a balanced one. Now, when you start the match, you race the other players to the cars scattered around the arena, and if 2 get to one at the same time, there is a little bar that each player races to fill up, where the driver can shake the player off of the car, or the other player can either have the option to wreck the car or take it over. Now, the driving controls in the game are pretty straightforward. You have your accelerate, your reverse, and your handbrake, that way you can drift and make some tight turns. But then you also have your dash/bash kind of action. You use it that way you can gain momentum and speed, that way you can damage other players in their vehicle. The only thing is that when you start playing the game, it's binded to your right analog stick. So you would move the analog stick to the left or to the right for like a side bash, and then you would move it forward for kind of like a boost of speed. But there were so many times that I would forget that the action was binded to the right analog stick that I would try to move the camera only to end up doing a side bash. Now, I would get really frustrated at first, but then I found a way to adapt without moving my camera while I was driving, and then just find a way to just side bash with my right analog stick. Disclaimer, you can also change the controls to where that kind of bash action is binded to. Now, not only are you driving around in your car, but you can also end up running around the arena on foot as well. You can jump out of your vehicle in the middle of a match to switch to another one of those field vehicles that I mentioned earlier, but then that puts you at risk of getting hit by somebody else that's driving around in their car. You can attack other players that are running around next to you, but some can trip you up with their breaker ability. Now, these give the characters an extra boost of speed while they're running, and the ability to double jump. Now, I only found myself really using these breaker abilities to reach vehicles that were kind of like out of reach by normal methods, because some of them sit on high platforms, but nonetheless they are still pretty cool. For example, in this video I'm using John, who sets up trip mines behind him wherever he's running on the arena, and that way, like, if anybody drives into them, it does a little bit of damage to their car or to the person. Oh, and did I mention you can run on walls too? Now, there are 4 multiplayer modes that you can play: Mayhem, Gridfall, Carnado, and Stockpile. 2 are individual events where you play against others, and the other 2 are 8v8 team modes. My favorite, like I said earlier, is Mayhem. This is where the person who emerges with the most points at the end wins. You get points by slamming into other vehicles, and the harder you hit them, the more points that you get. Gridfall is almost like a battle royale where parts of the floor fall as time goes on, and you have a limited amount of lives, but you get more lives by knocking other players out. And the last one, driving, wins. Now, Carnado is a team match where the team gathers gears and then banks them into a Carnado, which is like a tornado, and then the team with the most points wins. And then Stockpile is similar to Carnado, except you put all the points that you kind of gathered into a platform, which is going to be a bank, and then you bank the gears on foot, even though it's a driving game. Oh, just a disclaimer, you can't even play Mayhem with your friends. You have to play it by yourself. They won't even let you get into a party, but I guess that was their way of trying to avoid people like farming XP by having the same group of friends letting one person just win all the matches. Now, personally, I found no reasons to continue playing any of the other modes except for Mayhem, especially since that was the mode that was the most fun. The others feel kind of lackluster, especially since the team modes you can't even play with a full group of 8 friends. Like, you can only play with 4 of your friends, and then the other have to be randoms. So I had no real desire to constantly play them. You're also locked into game chat when you immediately start the game, and you can't turn it off in-game. The only way you can really do it is to make your own in-game party chat where you'll be the only person there talking to yourself. Make a PSN chat where you're the only person there talking to yourself. Or you have to kind of like go to the PlayStation Home and then use one of the cards to mute the game chat entirely, which is a couple more extra steps. Now, there are single player missions where you play against the other All-Star AI and you get to learn a little bit more about their story, but you don't have access to all of the stories at the start of the game. You have to pay for them. with in-game currency that you get from leveling up and playing matches, and the currency that you spend your real money on. So like most games coming out these days, there are microtransactions. The currency can be spent on skins, which are kind of boring for the most part, but at least they can be spent on some form of drip for the characters, even though the drip is like just a different color for the same outfit. Now this game was supposed to be a launch title for the PS5, a paid title I actually believe back in November, but then it was delayed, and nothing is wrong with delayed games as long as it leads to a better experience overall. Then I heard the game was going to be free to play when it was going to be released in February, and I actually got a chance to play the game, and boy am I happy it was free. I honestly wouldn't have paid for this game at all. I'm glad that it's free to play. I just don't think that it was worth giving my money for, especially if it was going to be like a $60 or $70 release title, like especially since it's a PlayStation exclusive. Now while the game was fun to play, mostly mayhem, especially for those first hours that I was playing, I found no real reason to return to it afterwards. Now it had plenty of fun moments with the hours that I played. I even streamed it afterwards, and I played a bunch then, but after those couple of days that I played, I got kind of bored. Now, it's not like I didn't win any matches because I got my win, so I was happy with it. But after that, it just felt kind of dry. Like, I'm not saying the game was terrible, it just wasn't enough to keep my attention. If anything, I say add the game to your library, try it out, and then come back to it when they add some more content. So let me know what y'all thought in the comments, especially if you played the game or you're still playing it. Don't forget to like, subscribe, share it, all that jazz. I hope y'all enjoyed the date with your boy, and I'll catch y'all next time.